Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco, your personal financial technician. Whether you've had years of success in your business or just starting out, High Lift Financial can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family, and align these for generational wealth. So as they say, what happens in your life affects your business. And now, on to the show. Hello, and welcome to Your Business, Your Life with your host, me, Matt DiFrancesco. So I hope everybody's doing well and everybody's staying safe, especially with some of these upticks in COVID cases. So anyway, I'm excited to have on guest today, especially since he specializes working in the automotive repair industry. But even if you're not in that industry, he's going to provide some really valuable insights into personal motivation and into sales. So Rick Selover, did I get it right this time?
That's about as close as we can get. Yeah.
All right. So Rick Selover, he's a multi-award-winning sales leader, a collision industry consultant, and a former refinish instructor. And in addition to that, he hosts his own podcast, which you see behind him, the Mind Wrench podcast. And he also is a motivational coach. Now, his passion is really to help collision repair owners and leaders, especially the young owners in this industry, to develop themselves and their businesses for success in this quickly evolving industry. So, Rick, welcome to the podcast.
Great. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate you having me here. And hopefully I can share some stuff that's going to help your listeners. You know, if they're in the automotive industry, repair end of it, they'll definitely get a lot of use out of some of the things I could share. But like you said, even for your technician, or if you're just, for pretty much anybody that wants to make improvements in their life, I try to gear my messages to include everybody. So it's, the things I'll teach are going to be applicable. It's a lot of it's mindset and attitude and things like that. So hopefully your listeners will get some value out of this today. And I'm thankful to be on here. Thanks.
Well, and that's great because I've done a number of podcasts on mindset, creating the proper mentality and how to stay positive and how to evolve also. So it'll be great to hear another voice coming in, getting your insights on those things. So I'm really excited about this.
Awesome.
So, no problem. No problem. So we're going to just kind of jump in, and as I introduced you, the audience is going to see that you have a number of credentials that are behind you. So I just thought, just to familiarize, I know we've talked about your background, but maybe just let the audience know a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you are right now.
Okay, great. So I'll start this off with, if you see this gray hair here, and I mentioned 45 years in this industry, you won't think I'm just making this stuff up. Okay?
Right.
I've been in the automotive repair, specifically collision business, since the late 70s. Mm-hmm. I was about 14 or so, first got introduced to, masking off a car. I was helping a couple buddies out there were doing a job inside of a warehouse, and they asked me if I'd come help them. I was using newspaper and masking tape, and I'd never done it before. And other than spraying tester spray paint on model cars when I was a little bit younger. I mean, I think I was kind of hooked by the fumes at that point.
Right.
But helping guys out with mask off car was just, I thought it was really exciting. And I did it and I loved it. And I was kind of hooked right from there. Before long, I was spray bombing cars for another friend of mine with spray cans, doing a complete. I mean, my first complete was with a spray can.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So I got into it at a young age. Ended up in a body shop by 15, sweeping floors, learning how to be a painter's helper, graduated into painting cars. And for the next 15 years, I painted everything from electrical boxes to show cars, race cars,
wow,
and regular collision work. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm bragging, but I've painted just about everything there is to paint. I painted some boats. And even probably 10 years ago, I was asked to help out on a project. I ended up painting an F4 Vietnam fighter jet.
Wow.
With camouflage. Yeah, it was crazy. That'd be a whole nother podcast to explain how that went. But so I've got a lot of paint experience. I've been in the body shop end of it for a total of about 45 years.
Okay.
I went from painting into the sales end. So I just didn't want to be a 60 or 65-year-old guy still, painting cars. I just felt my body probably wouldn't do well with that. So at about 30, I wanted to get out and do something different. So I jumped into the sales side of it. And I really liked that as well. I got to meet a lot of people. I got to help some people with problems, solve some issues and some problems. And I really enjoyed it. I did really well at it. And over time, I became a sales manager, worked for two major companies, distributors,
Okay.
and really enjoyed that part of it as well. And I learned a lot in that time frame, which has kind of brought me the last few years. I spent a lot of time in self-development. I've read a lot of books,
Right.
listened to a lot of tapes, took a lot of courses, and really grew on the inside. I'm not sure why. I just felt like I needed to for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm able to share that with helping guys out in the shops, coaching. I've started a podcast last year to just try to share some of the knowledge, share some of the things I've learned, and
Right.
try to help some of these guys out. It's one of the things I saw about this industry was it's very negative. Guys are down on themselves a lot,
Yep.
and it's very challenging, the changes that they're going through. And it's really, I think it's mentally, it's taken their toll on a lot of these shop owners and a lot of these technicians. So trying to provide something that might help them get past that and work through it. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting because I deal with a lot of those issues on my end with my clients. And one thing that we've really spent a lot of time working on is starting to develop cultures within these businesses. And I'm a big proponent of personal development. On previous podcasts, I think I did a whole podcast on personal development. And my coach preaches that you should be spending 5 to 10% of either your top line or bottom line, depending on what you how much you want to invest in
right.
yourself. And it like you said, it transforms it just transforms your life because it really rewires your brain to a certain extent. And I've gotten my guys to start doing the same thing, and now they're introducing this personal development into their shops, and it's really transforming how they do business because they're changing the culture within it.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Listen, a lot of people look at it as it's just woo crap, and
yep.
but I'm telling you, I never read books when I graduated high school, and I was fortunate enough to graduate high school. I didn't go to college.
Uh-huh.
I was a technical guy. I liked getting my hands dirty. I liked working on cars. I came from that era where everybody worked on their own cars.
Right.
Thank God. But I never read a book. I mean, I wouldn't do any of that stuff. And once I hit about 40 or 42 or so, I cracked open a book. I think it was A Mind of a Millionaire. And I
Oh
learned
yeah.
so much. Remember that book?
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
learned so much in that one book. I thought, oh my God, this is just, I want to learn more. And it just became an obsession over the last, I don't know, almost 20 years. So
Right.
I've read a lot of books. I've took some courses, and there's so much to self-development and to, fixing up here,
Mm-hmm.
creates so many opportunities on the outside world. If you're right in your head and you have the right ammunition, there's nothing that you can't do. And there is absolutely nothing that you can't do. It's a matter of mind over
Right.
matter. So
Oh,
anyways,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to share that mentality and that outlook and that view through the lens of the glasses that I see through to the people that I deal with and people I'm trying to help. So
I think that's so important. And it's interesting because I think it's even more important now in this industry because it is evolving so quickly. I mean, you look at just the technology. I was actually with a client today, and it was actually a prospect who's becoming a client. And we were just talking about how he's big car guy and he used to own classic cars. And I said, imagine how the technology's changed from those cars. And we're seeing, the consolidations happening within the industry. A lot of the big MSOs are starting to buy these independent shops a lot of times because they don't know where to go, and it's like they think that it might be the only option. So what I wanted to ask you was, as you're kind of out there, what do you see are the biggest challenges that these business owners are facing?
um, there's several, but probably the the biggest challenges they face on a daily basis that's driving their decisions to either sell
Hmm.
or get out or really question if they want to be in the business is, there's things like a shortage of quality technicians.
Well, right.
This has been going on for several years now. Because quite honestly, I'm almost 60, and there's a ton of guys that are my age or a little bit older that have been in this business for 40 years or
Right.
45 or 50 years, right?
Yeah.
And those people, their bodies are getting tired, they're close to retirement, their attitudes are shot. They want to get out. They're done with this. They don't want to face what's coming next.
Right.
Or they put their time in and they want to be done. So unfortunately, on a backside of that, there's not a lot of people getting into this industry.
Yeah.
Hell, if you look at every service industry, I don't care if it's body, automotive, if it's landscaping, if it's, electricians or brick repair, whatever it is,
Mhm.
there's not an influx of young men and women wanting to get in and start getting their hands dirty and work a trade.
Yeah.
So they're seeing that and they're dealing with that. And then you couple that with the complexity of vehicle repairs.
Mhm.
You can't just pull a frame like you used to. You can't just replace a fender. You can't replace a headlight. I mean, you have to scan, you have to check ADAS systems. You have to, replace sensors. There's a lot of testing you have to do. There's, different metals now that were never in cars before. There's a multitude of different materials to work with, different repair processes and methods and tooling for all those different materials.
Mhm.
It's a lot to absorb. It's a lot to learn. It's a lot tool wise to invest in equipment. So they look at that part of it, right?
Right.
And then they look at, collision shops used to really hang their hat on getting DRP
Right.
work, right? So the direct repair insurance programs,
Yep.
which can fill your shop with work, but you don't get everything you should get on those jobs. And these guys
Right.
work hard, right? To do a proper repair on today's vehicle, they should get paid for every process that they do. But part of the DRP program is, well, we're not going to pay you for that, and you're not going to try to charge us for that, but we're going to give you lots of work, and you're going to have a little reduced labor rate, and we're going to take a little bit off on your parts. So people get into these programs, and they have to have their shops full. They have to process a lot of jobs to quote unquote, make money on it.
Right.
So a lot of that DRP work that now maybe some smaller shop or medium-sized shop that's been having at it for 30 or 40 years,
Mhm.
now they're losing those DRP programs that were their lifeblood to the big MSOs, because the big MSOs have better contracts with the DRP, with the
Right.
insurance companies.
Mhm.
So they'll shift that work. When an MSO comes into your neighborhood and you're on one of the big guys' programs, that probably going to get shifted over to the MSO. And there's
Right.
nothing you could do about it. So they're seeing that. But man, quite honestly, I think the biggest problem these shops face right now is on the inside. It's the I can't mentality. It's
Yeah.
the I can't compete mindset. They're letting their own limiting beliefs talk them into selling their shop and just getting out of it.
Right.
And every day they'll go, yep, see, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, I'm probably better off if I just sell.
Yeah.
I just can't keep doing this. And there's a million other excuses, but that's probably the biggest factor on the mass exodus I'm seeing out of this business right now.
Right. Right. And it's interesting. I think what you stated, they it's their own mindset and their limiting beliefs that hold them back. And the guys that I'm working with that are the most successful really almost have an entrepreneurial mentality, and they're trying to figure out ways on how can we evolve. How can I teach my kids not only just to run the business, but then how to take it into the next generation and take it further on and evolve with the business. And again, that comes down to, that's not the technical aspect. That's the head aspect, like you mentioned.
Right. So as this continues, and I hate to see it happen, and the MSOs and the large national groups and the regional MSOs, I mean, they're feeding on this. They go, I know those people are ready to give up, so let's just put a little pressure on them, and we can pick up those shops a little cheaper than we planned on. But the thing is I hate to see that, because there's no reason in the world why most modern shops can't compete and can't continue to fix cars.
Right.
And I've said this before, and I'll say it till the day I die. I don't give a crap if cars are flying, if they're electric, if they're running hydrogen gas or whatever.
Yep.
Even if they're on autopilot and you don't even touch the wheel,
Right.
they're still going to smash into each other. They're still going to smash into other stuff.
That's right.
And they're still going to need somebody with two hands and tools and some mind and some technology to fix them. Okay.
Right.
That's not going to go away.
Mhm.
Now it may reduce a little bit, but it'll always be there. And we'll always need good shops to do that.
Right.
And no knock against the MSOs, but they're kind of cookie cutter. They have their programs, they have how they do things set in stone. And it's just like a McDonald's or a Burger King. They open up a new one, it's set up the same way. And it's a great process for them. It allows them to grow and to get larger footprints. But
Right.
when it comes to repairing cars, today's modern shops, the guys that have been in it a long time, I think they still have the edge. They have the ability to be flexible in what they do. And I still think they still have the opportunity to compete and do well and make money in this business. I think they let their mindsets dictate their next moves. But if you want to say, like what's their best opportunities right now, if you're on that fence, if you're thinking about that,
Right.
number one, an independent shop has the flexibility to give specialized service that the MSOs can't, right? So they can do special stuff. They can do customization of cars. They can do, show quality paint jobs that an MSO can't do. They can do specific type of high-end repairs, BMWs and Lexus and some of the high-end cars. MSOs kind of shy away from some of that stuff because it takes them off their game of, production, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's some specific types of things that independent shops can do or dealers can do that the MSOs just can't offer.
Right.
They also have the opportunity to build and improve their marketing efforts in their communities. So if you have Billy Bob's Body Shop in anywhere USA, and he's been there for 30 years, he's in a community, they know him. Okay. They know Billy Bob. They probably had friends that have been to his shop. He might have the ability to get involved in the, get involved with the police department and the fire department, sponsor some things, baseball games or baseball teams, have community events, have fundraisers and things like that. The MSOs won't get involved with in a small community.
Right.
So they have that ability to have a better marketing program, but touch their community, let them know that they're there, they're part of them, that they're working with them, and they're there for them when they need them.
Yeah.
Like I said, not everybody has that advantage. I think the smaller and medium-sized shops have that. And then they also have the ability to create a unique working atmosphere. What I mean by that, Matt, is once again, MSOs have pretty much cut in stone. This is how it is. This is how the employees get paid. This is the uniforms they wear. And this is your job here. So that's what you're going to do for the most part, right? If you have your own shop, you can create any kind of work atmosphere you want.
Yeah.
Maybe you have everybody on a team. Maybe you have everybody on, a certain type of pay that works for them. Maybe you can customize between 5 different techs, how they pay them based on what their needs are. They can feel like they're part of the ownership of that business.
Right.
You can give them unique tasks that they wouldn't get as a normal body tech at a large dealership or MSO. I mean, there's ways you can move that stuff around, have a better experience for the employee as well as the customers too.
Right.
So you can have customer events there. You can have special things in your waiting area and your reception area and just connect with them on a better level than they're able to get with, the big name brand MSOs that are out there. So I still think there's some opportunities. I still think there's some advanced options for the business owner to not sell out and just kind of double down on what he wants to do there. So.
Right. And it's, I think you hit on a key point. I remember I read an article a couple months ago in Body Shop Business, and it was written by a independent owner out in California. And he was talking about how the independents would survive. And basically his summation was they can do one of two things. They can either try to undercut or provide a superior customer service level. And you can only undercut so much.
Right.
I mean, you're basically going to just chop your legs out from under you. So I really see as how that these owners need to look and say, how can I provide a superior customer experience? And I think things like online scheduling is a big,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Online scheduling, the ability to, and I know everybody hates photo estimates, but I hate to tell you, that's not going to go away.
Right.
It's going to get more prevalent. That doesn't
with
have
technology, it's probably going to be a lot more efficient too.
Oh God! Listen, I don't own a body shop. I don't work in a shop every day, so I don't have to deal with the concept of that. But when I step back and I look, I go, it makes a lot of sense for the customer. Okay, and number one, customer experience is everything, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you make something convenient and easy for the customer, that's what they want.
Right.
So if a customer gets in an accident and they can go online, they find your shop, they find your website, and they go, oh, look, I can schedule an appointment. Oh, I can also upload an estimate to start the process.
Right.
Well, once they start that process, you got a better chance of hanging on to that than it getting towed to your shop and then the insurance company going, well, no, actually our other shop down the street's preferred. We're gonna direct our customer to go over there, because that stuff
Right.
happens.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So if you have those two abilities, you have a website that allows somebody to schedule something in the middle of the night, because studies show that most accidents happen after 5 or 6 p.m.
Right.
So if the customer has that ability to schedule an appointment, upload a couple pictures of his car, of the damage, so someone at the body shop bank can actually get started on it, and then schedule him to get in to see the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are huge. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that shops can do to up their level of expertise,
Mm-hmm.
to make it more user friendly, more customer friendly, and play to those advantages, and gain some market share. So they don't have to go out of business. They don't have to sell out to the MSOs. They just don't.
I completely agree with you. I think even looking at having some type of online tracking, or even where they get text updates, things like that on their car. I know that's a frustrating thing anytime my car's in the shop, is you don't hear anything, and then I'm like calling, hey, it's been like 3 weeks, where's my car stand? And then they have to go look through the file. And now there's a lot of automated processes that are out there that they can actually tie into emails, text, that can actually give the customer updates on where their car stands. And I think it just gives the customer peace of mind to
Oh,
be able to know
absolutely.
where the car is in the process. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating because for most people in this country, especially if you live in more rural areas, that's your main mode of transportation. If you got to get to the grocery store, there's not public transportation to be able to do that. And so your life's very much disrupted when you don't have your vehicle. And
Absolutely.
I think the more you can utilize different technologies to be able to keep the customer engaged, I think that's going to be a big selling point for a lot of these independent shops.
Oh, absolutely. I'm telling you, customer experience. Listen, I learned a long time ago. This has been probably 5 or 6 years that, people expect the same experience they'd have going to Starbucks, right?
Right.
They walk in, they see this person, they tell them their order, they take their name, they walk down, and they pick up their order, and everybody's nice and friendly, and it's a dependable process,
Right.
and it's a great customer experience. They expect everything to be like that they deal with.
Yeah.
So the closer you can get to that, listen, the days of collision repair that I lived through as an employee, it was horrible. It's freaking horrible. I mean, customer walk in, there's 2 dogs in the front office, on the, seat of an old van that's not a couch, but it's just a car seat. And
Right.
the place is dirty, and they stand there and they're waiting for somebody to ask them if they can help them, and they're answering phones, and they just look at the customer like, you're really a pain in my butt right now. I'm busy. Can't you? I mean, the whole attitude, the whole customer service part of it was horrible.
Right.
And it's improved so much, but it's still, I see shops that do a great job, a fantastic job, that are right on the money. And I see others that still seem to be in the 70s or 80s,
All right.
that could make a few tweaks and a few changes, and probably, change the course of their direction in their shop.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, listen, I know they're fixing cars, and I know that the cars, the technology, it's so much more advanced, and it's so much more than just bumping and painting cars. It's
Right.
high end, professional repairs. But at the end of the day, that customer experience has to be there,
Right.
or they're just going to go somewhere else. So I think that's where shops have the biggest advantages: how they communicate with that customer, how they treat them, how they make them feel. And there's plenty to learn there too for everybody. So.
Right, right. And I think, you mentioned another point earlier about the lack of young people coming into the technical trades. And it was
Yes.
funny. I was at a conference about 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to a guy about this because he teaches collision repair at the community college. And this has just been my observation, and this is not speaking just to the industry. This is kind of in general, that we're starting to see a little bit of comeback in the trades, because I think what happened is a number of years ago, kids were sold this bill of goods. Like, you're not going to get a good job or make enough money unless you go to college. Okay. And people have now caught on
Yep.
that, there's people that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars going to college, getting this degree, and they're sitting out of work. And then they're looking at trying to get an electrician, trying to get a plumber, trying to get, their car fixed. And they can't find anybody that can actually fit them in. I mean, because there's just not enough people out there. And I think they're getting wise to that. Do we really want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars when I can spend a fraction of that, get a trade, and make as much money some of my guys make more money than my physicians. All right.
Oh,
and they don't have
absolutely.
$300,000 worth of debt, and they don't have $100,000 a year medical malpractice.
Yep. No, listen, I couldn't agree more. I think, and I spent a little bit of time, I spent a couple of years as a part-time instructor at a community college, teaching a refinishing class in a really good program. And there's a lot of students in there at the time, but it was government funded. So they had a lot of students in there that, it didn't cost them much. As soon as they ended that funding, the classes dropped, and they reduced all the availability of classes that they had, except for a couple core ones. But I did see people that were interested in that were also in college to do some other things. This was kind of I want to learn how to work on my car in the garage. But the whole concept of college, and I don't want to call it a scam, but you're looking at
I'll call it that. How about that?
Yeah, for what it does.
Yes.
It's a concept of learning that was around, I don't know. Listen, I'm not a historian, but I know it's probably well over 100 years. Colleges have been around. So that model worked back then, right? So you went to school, you got a degree in something, and you got a good job. Well, you go back about 20 or 30 years, that kind of ended, right? So now kids are going to school because their parents, our generation, telling their kids, now you need to go to college. No, they should be telling them, you know what, you need to go to a trade school. You need to go online, take some courses online, learn something that's going to be valuable. And that's the whole thing is, I think that whole college system's broken. And I think parents need to do a better job of communicating with their kids and convincing them that, listen, there is a world of need out there in every type of service industry you need. It's not all hands are dirty and I got my, my fist in a motor block getting all oily and busting my knuckles. There's a lot of stuff. You look at the electronics on vehicles today. You could hire a kid. You could hire an 18-year-old kid out of high school that likes tech, right? You could have him doing all your scans, all your calibrations, looking up OEM procedures online, printing that. I mean, you could have, 2 or 3 technicians like that in a large shop that never even touch a car. They're just doing that technical stuff, or, they're involved in a very, non-greasy way or non-bondo-y way. And there's just a lot of options in that now. And that's just in automotive, collision repair. You look at mechanical repair, or, electricians and all those other trades. Some of those, those guys make 6 figures.
I know.
And what kind of degree do you have to walk out of school and make 6 figures?
That's right.
There's not a whole lot of them, right?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of them can work while they're going to school, so they can earn money while they're going to school.
Absolutely.
That's great.
I had I had an interview with Jay Gunanen from Wrenchway. That's a business that connects mechanical shops with technicians. They're doing great work there. And we had a great discussion about that, but he's on the same train I am, that we need to do a better job as an industry and as a nation, do a better job of educating both parents, high school teachers, and these kids. I mean, when they're 14, 15, 16, get them interested in the trades that are available out there.
Right.
Start talking to them about some of the advantages of being in one of these trades. Learn on the job, make money while you're learning. Your tool investment could be minimal. I mean, body shops can put together programs where they're helping them finance their first set of tools if they sign a commitment to stay with them for a couple of years. I mean, there's so much opportunity there to get people into this trade. And I don't see it happening yet. I see people talking about it and some things starting to change, but there's a long way to go there. There really is.
Oh, no doubt about that. So anyway, we're getting close on time. I did want to ask you one other
Sure.
thing. And, actually we could probably go on and on. We might want to just schedule another time and to kind of continue the conversation.
I'm always open for that. So
No
not a problem.
No problem. But, many of the clients I work with, they are trying to figure out a way to transition the business to the next generation. And yet in many cases, the children, they've either never built a business from the ground, or they've never learned the skills necessary to be able to, create and run a successful business. So in your experience, what advice would you give the children of shop owners? Because I know you like to work with young shop owners who want to take over the business and continue it for future generations.
Great question, Matt. Great question. Thanks for asking. So, two schools of thought on this. First question is going to be, decide, are you in or are you out?
Yeah.
So I've seen in my career, I've seen a lot of, especially within dealership, body shops, or dealerships in general, car dealerships. You'll have a senior owner principal that's maybe in his 60s or 70s. He's got a son that's in his 40s, 50s, or whatever. That's taking over the business.
Right.
Some of them are involved and all in. Some are, dad wants me to take it over, so I will. Then you get to third generation, and those kids either they're just doing this because that's what dad and grandpa did,
Right.
and it's an easy check. Or it's, I'm just going to build this a little bit. And I'm going to off it first chance I get and go do something I want to do. Right.
Right.
So you got to make that decision. Do I want to be in this or do I not?
Okay.
So if they don't want to be in it, dealership's one thing, but if it's a body shop and you're a second or third generation collision shop owner, your dad wants you or your grandpa wants you to take over the reins, make that decision whether you want to do this or not. If you don't, be clear about it. I don't want to do this. Find somebody else that wants to buy in, right? Give somebody else an opportunity. Right. Nothing worse than a kid going in there going, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And they screw it up and they ruin the guy's business he's had for 30 or 40 years. I mean, it does happen, right?
Right.
So either you're in or you're out. So if you're in, get involved in the industry. And, attend events, attend seminars, attend conferences, expose yourself to as much of that stuff as you can, learn about that trade intimately, not just, well, I know I saw my dad working on cars and I liked the painting part of it. And, I'll make sure I'm working with the painter on making sure the paint end of my body shop works good. No, you want to know the whole industry. You want to know how this works. So get involved in it. Join associations. There's tons of associations that would love to have fresh blood in there, getting involved and making a difference, right?
Right.
Success leaves clues. And what I mean by that is look at other shops that are successful. Look at what other owners have done. Pick their brains. Join some, Facebook groups that they belong to. Find some associations that they, belong to. Make friends with them. Buy them coffee. Go out, pick their brains a little bit, find out whatever you can from them. Find the top performers in this business, look at what they do and duplicate what they do.
Right.
Duplication is fine. There's nothing wrong with ripping off somebody's ideas or concepts on how they do their business, because if they're successful, that's what you should do. You should be doing what, unless you can't figure out, if you can figure out a better way yourself, that's great.
Right.
And then seek out and hire a coach, hire a consultant, cut a check to go faster.
Right.
All right. You don't have to spend 4 or 5 years learning the business before you can start being good at it. You can do this in a year and a half or a year if you get the right people involved and you pay for the education. Have somebody guiding you through that and working with you. I've done that with a few young guys, and it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of coaching and consulting companies out there. There's a lot of people that can help. You just got to cut a check for it. I mean,
right.
How do you learn anything? I mean, if you want your kid to go take ice skating lessons, you can send her out there by herself, figure it out, or you can hire a ice skating coach or a hockey coach, right? I mean, people do that all the time for their kids. Why wouldn't you want to do that for yourself and your own business? So,
and that's all part of that personal development program. And as the listeners know, I've had a coach for the last 9 years, and especially I think in the family business, I think it's a great investment because too many times with fathers and sons or daughters or mothers and there you have that conflict. There's constantly
Yes.
this, and then when you have the outside person that's coming in, the outside expert. I
Yep.
would say, Jesus couldn't perform any miracles in his hometown, right? And that seems to be true even in our own houses. Okay, so
Yes.
sometimes having that outside person, just they look at them from a different perspective and they're more willing to listen.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Couldn't agree more.
no problem. So Rick, real quick, where can people
Yeah.
find you? And
Well, probably the easiest place to find me is rickselover.com. I got a website. It's got all the links to all my social media sites. I've got a group and a page, Collision Mastermind group, Collision Mastermind page on Facebook, my Instagram, and yeah, pretty much everything is right there. And my podcast, there's a page for my podcast, the Mind Wrench podcast. I do a show every week,
okay.
or I try to. I think I've only missed 2 in a year. So
Right.
yeah, that's where you can find me. Go to my website. If you need me for coaching or you want to pick my brain or you got questions, you can contact me through any of those forums at all. So I'm easily available. So
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Rick, it's been a pleasure having you on. I think we ought to continue this conversation at a later time, especially talking about some of the intricacies we were talking about. I think the mindset thing is a really big one, not only for just the owners, but how they can help to their employees to do that. Again, I'm really finding the culture, developing a culture within the shop makes tremendous differences. So I think that might be a good thing for us to talk about in the future.
we could do 20 minutes or an hour or 5 hours on mindset, Matt, anytime you want. I got
Ain't that the
no
truth,
problem with
man?
that at all.
That's kind of my thing. I tell people all the time, I'm more of a psychologist than a financial guy. And the reason is, the financial thing is just putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Then you got to
Yeah.
get then you've got to get people to understand why are you not doing the things that you should be doing. And that's head trash.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
but anyway, we'll look to get you on the books again and
Okay.
schedule a time to do that. And I want to thank you for being on. And the last thanks goes out to the listener. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. If you've not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click on the subscribe now button below. And that way, when I come out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. It also makes it much easier for you to share these podcasts with your friends and family. And also, if you enjoy the podcast, please give us a 5-star review so we can reach more listeners. So again, thank you so much for listening. And from me and everyone here at High Lift Financial, make it your best day every day. And we'll see you again next time. Take care and God bless. Hey, I really want to thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. If you want to be notified when new episodes become available, click the subscribe button below.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of High Lift Financial. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investment, legal, or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding your business or personal planning. DiFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC, DBA High Lift Financial, is a registered investment advisor. Registration with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or any state security authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training.